Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's STORMYBMAN, and I am back welcoming you to the post-fight show with STORMYBMAN and Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens for this Saturday, March 14th, 2021. And we are here to discuss this evening's boxing matches as well as this earlier evening's boxing matches. And boy, did we get some entertainment this evening. Listen, I just want to say there are a number of reasons why to celebrate the sport of boxing, and none greater than when you have a situation where there are fighters who present themselves in the most glorious of fashion as warriors. And we have seen throughout the years, warriors come and go, and fighters do their best and be as great as advertised, and some who may never have lived up to the potential foreseen before them. But Marvelous Marvin Hagler was a special fighter in boxing. This man entertained us with the skills of a refined fighter as far as boxing wise, and as an executioner, being able to take men out with his bare hands. And he gave us the most brilliant of efforts throughout his stellar career. And today, sadly, we lost Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And I just wanted to open the show with a dedication and salute to this great warrior and fighter. And we will be doing a special 3 Wise Men of Boxing on Marvelous Marvin Hagler tomorrow evening. We'll do it about 6 p.m. Central. And we just want to bring our thoughts and our memories and just kind of provide anyone who would like to tune in a chance to remember and celebrate the career of this tremendous fighter. But allow me to just go ahead and introduce my co-host here, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, as Reggie might even want to have something to say about Marvin here on air while we have the chance. Salute to you, Reggie. Great call on the fights this evening, man. Would you like to say something in retrospect for Marvin?
Oh, yes, man. Just shocking news out of nowhere. And like it was stated, just came out of nowhere. It wasn't like he was battling any health conditions or anything. It just abruptly happened. And he's a young dude with a lot of life that should have been lived. So it's real unfortunate to have this kind of shock to happen in this world of boxing. That's even like, and I was stating that his name has been kept alive by a lot of historians on here. It was a while ago, and I'm looking for my message to where I try to reach out to him. I think it was sometime last year, right when I was doing those early in the year when I was doing the old fight calls, and I tried to hit him on Instagram, but no reply. I doubt if he wants to do interviews. Haven't heard nothing from him, but I at least was trying to attempt because I really wanted to hear his story and to talk to him. And for a long time, I always thought Hagler was from like some foreign country and stuff. And matter of fact, the other odd thing, I'm watching one of these podcasts where they made it clear with, they were speaking about Hagler and they brought up his names about following that fight with Sugar Ray. He ended up moving and ended up living in like Italy or somewhere. I know he was in New Hampshire where he ended up finally going away. But just always want to kind of get in his history. I always want to learn a little bit more about his history and where he come from, what got him into boxing. Those are kind of questions, but it's just kind of, he lived in the shadows, but his name forever lived. He's one of the greatest middleweights, and there's some great names that have campaigned in that division. The Andre Wards, the Bernard Hopkins. We've seen Triple G, who they try to bring in and mention with Hearns. I mean, not with Hearns, but with Hagler. But they don't amount to anything of what this great legend was. And being many of the great names on his records and even having the long 8-year reign, that's some impressive stuff. and impressive stuff against good names. But that's my thoughts on that, man. And like I stated, hopefully people start coming into hearing this history on these great legends while they're still here and before things like this occur. But it's unfortunate that this is the way that he has to leave us. But that's my thoughts on that.
Yes, sir. And like I said, we'll be tomorrow on the Three Wise Men. We'll have a special show for him, celebrating his career and taking a tremendous walk down memory lane for the excitement that he brought us in the ring. And another thing that could be so commendable to this warrior is that when he was away from the ring, he was away from the ring. He didn't come about, still trying to have his name out there and bandied about. And it seemed like he was very content after making the decision to walk away. Very few have been able to stay away from the sport, especially when they enjoy success like he did, and not come back or put himself in front of microphones where he would kind of put down the fighters of the current era, that followed him. I do recall he doing a pay-per-view broadcast of James Toney against Mike McCallum, where he sat there as a color analyst and gave his thoughts and call on that fight. And if you haven't had a chance to check that out, go listen to Marvin. He gave those men credit for their efforts, and he never sounded like the bitter old champ or anything like that. He just called it as a fan, sitting there and enjoying it, and able to give a perspective from a professional who actually was involved in the sport. So it's amazing that he wasn't asked to do more of those, or maybe he was and he chose to not do more. But at least we did have that one, and that was a great fight for him to be a part of too, because that was when these gentlemen were fighting. I believe it was at super middleweight, James Toney against Mike McCallum, and they got two great fights out of one another during that era. So, but yeah, R.I.P. and rest in power to the Marvelous One. He legally changed his name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler so that he would garner the respect that he felt that he was due, that the press and modern media felt like they didn't want to acknowledge that, because his ring name was Marvelous Marvin Hagler, but he made it his legal name because even as they addressed him entering and exiting a ring, they would not refer to him as Marvelous, even though almost everything he did professionally proved otherwise. So just wanted to say that, and we can go ahead and get on into our post-fight show, but could not begin anything without the acknowledgement of the passing of a tremendous warrior from our beloved sport of boxing. So again, R.I.P., rest in power to the Marvelous One. But yeah, Reggie, what a evening of boxing, and we saw some great stuff this evening. I didn't see all of it because I was kind of dialed in totally on the DAZN card, but you were able to take some time away from that card and call the fight card that was David Benavidez against Ronald Ellis. And I thought we would open up with that fight in particular because you saw it all. You were able to give that call while it was fresh in your mind, and it'll give me a chance to listen to your take on it and everything. And then I'll leave a couple of slide remarks because I have an axe to grind with Mr. Ellis. So what were your thoughts about the Showtime card in its entirety first, Reg?
In its entirety, well, I caught the part of Goucher fight, which was quick work by Goucher. got the opponent out of there, was trying to destroy that opponent, as a matter of fact. And like I was stating, it was the same ref from when, I believe that's that same ref from when Deontay Wilder knocks Severn out in that second fight. And remember how Wilder was going crazy and the ref tried to jump in there on him? And he hanging off Wilder back and getting flung.
Yeah.
He almost looked like that again. Because Shea had this opponent knocked out, trying to tear his head off. The ref tried to run in there to hold on and grab with Shea as he throwing punches on the guy. But he went in there, he made a quick statement, got his opponent up out of there. The second fight, who was that? Cruz versus Romero, whatever his name was. It was just a survival fight for Romero. Romero just moved around that fight, moved around the ring. He tried to stay safe, running around. He began to let his hands go, kind of earning himself some rounds, just keeping Cruz from being able to catch him. Cruz being about 6 inches shorter than him, being much shorter than him, but able to connect and land on him, and causing this taller fighter who had to reach almost about, what is his reach? About 6-inch reach on this guy, running around, just trying to throw these long running jabs, just like he's doing a drive-by with the punch is what he was doing. Trying to stay out the way of Napoleon from knocking his head off. And so, but it was just a survival round. So Cruz had to go the full 12 round in the, I think that was a championship fight. And so he ends up pulling off that win. But going into Benavidez, like one of the brothers said in the chat, Charlo hiding up under his bed, Caleb Plant probably hiding under his bed. That was a brutalizing display that Benavidez put out there. And he didn't just put this on here to show his opponent that you don't belong in the ring with me. He put this on here to make a statement for all those who are watching, scouting, looking to see how he looks against Ronald Ellis. And he showed them that this dude was light years away from, where the talent stood in this one. And Benavidez he showed why he's the truth. And he brutalized the heck out of Ronald Ellis from round 2, because I gave Ronald Ellis the first round. But from that, when Benavidez stepped on it, start coming forward on this dude, hitting him with these solid jabs, it ain't the fact that he looks to knock you out. He knows how to tenderize and break an opponent down.
Stop right there, Reggie, for one quick second. I want to quickly, I just want to quickly acknowledge Taylor Bell out there in the super chat. This brother is always supporting the channel. Matter of fact, I'll embarrass some people and just say that he's like one of the only ones that support the channel. And salute to that brother, Taylor Bell. I always want to acknowledge him when he's out there. He's always showing support. And he's a person that comes and shows up for all of our shows, man. So salute to Taylor Bell. He says, my man Benavidez came through. He locked in. And yes, he most certainly did. And we'll continue to listen to Reg describe that action for us. Go ahead, Reg.
Yeah, but he tenderizes the heck out of an opponent, breaking him down. And he is a heavy puncher. Vicious with his punches. The way he delivers his jab and the hand speed. I don't think there's no one at this division that can match Benavidez for hand speed. And also with the height, length, and range that he has, and his ability to throw in short body shots, to deliver the uppercuts, vicious type punching. Like I don't see too many guys handling these dudes. And I'm a Caleb Plant fan at this division. But once again, I'm a fan of boxing before I'm a fan of any fighter. But at this division, look for the most success to come from Caleb Plant. But this dude, Benavidez, is a legitimate threat to Caleb Plant's plight through this dang division. Whatever plans Caleb Plant has, and it's the reason why he doesn't want to take Benavidez before getting that Canelo fight, is the fact that big Benavidez can railroad every single plan he has. So he wants to save that for later. But Charlo talking what he talked about him, there's a reason why we hear Charlo talking about vaccines and age limits and all this other stuff, because he watched this fight tonight. And I guarantee you Charlo ain't got nothing to say about what he saw tonight, is he watched Benavidez go in here and just cause complete destruction of a very strong fighter who had nothing to give but to kind of back up, run, try to fire off shots. Ellis hit him with some nice shots when he caught him because of Benavidez not worrying about him. And Benavidez took the strong fighter's punches and just quickly beat him down. He'd knock down the hands, throwing these right hooks, hit him with uppercuts, these punches to the body. And he does it with great ease. He does it with great ease. And then when he mixes on the inside, he's an inside and outside fighter. That's crazy. He's an inside-outside fighter, and the hands are amazing. The hand speed is amazing from Benavidez. It ain't too many fighters can deal with it. It ain't just like these are quick punches. Like you seen with Amber Williams, he has very, very quick hands, and they really don't have any, thump behind it based on what the opponent, like he went in there tonight. Benavidez punches are felt. All these quick-handed punches. And when he's throwing these quick combinations, it ain't just letting the hands go. He knows where these punches are going. He knows where he wants to deliver, where he wants to strike. His punch placement is a thing of beauty. And he just went in here dominating this dude. But the other issue is the corner. The other issues is the referee. Even though the ref stopped it, they stopped this fight way too late. That's how bad this beatdown of Ronald Ellis was. It was that severe. It got so bad to where out of the 8th round, before they go into the 9th, while they're in the corner, the coach was like, man, I'm going to give you one more round because this is how bad it got. And then the doctor was over on the side of the ropes like, hey, I need to check him out. And when the doctor called him over before round 9 starts, he said, we're going to observe you. That's what they were watching. That's how brutalizing this fight was. But then it became more than what Benavidez was doing. It became more upsetting to watch a coach allow his fighter to stay in a fight like that. The scorecards were getting way too wide. The beatdown was getting too unnecessary. It's becoming an unnecessary beatdown. But Benavidez didn't give a damn. Benavidez is going to beat you until he beats you in the submission. Benavidez probably don't care if he debilitates a fighter in that ring. He's a mean dude. And hey, that's what I like about this dude Benavidez. But that was a mean beatdown right there against a very, very strong fighter who really couldn't give nothing. It was just that bad. He just walked him like a horror film villain. But that's my thoughts on that one.
And I'll get a chance to, after the post-fight show, I'll go and check it out and review it before I go to sleep. It'll be something nice to go to sleep to, because I'm glad he was able to do what he did. But I also want to make this one single comment about David Benavidez, because the man has had, and I'll say young man because he's young enough to be a son to me, but he has had his trials, outside the ring. He's had his title taken away from him on a couple of different occasions due to his immaturity. But as I spoke in my pre-fight video, which a lot of you guys didn't watch, and I'm angry at you for that, so go sit your butts down somewhere trying to listen into the post-fight show now. But anyway, as I stated in my pre-fight video, if he decides to turn that corner and leave the riffraff that can sidetrack you and get you in trouble of all sorts because it's out there for you as a young man, he is going to be a force of nature to deal with. And my other part of that comment is that Mr. Benavidez is definitely, how can I put this? When motivated, and by goodness, he was definitely motivated for this particular night's effort as it was displayed. But when motivated, with the talent that he has and the ability that he has and the youthful exuberance that is reflective of his, 24 years? That's a young man. So let's just say for that middleweight, super middleweight division and light heavyweight division, you guys better hold your heads, because this young man is a force of nature to be dealt with. And I love that. I love that he put that type of effort on this evening. And what it speaks of to me is he's listened to a lot of what's gone on recently. We recently had a showcase fight, another of sorts, for this champion now Canelo Alvarez. And a lot of fighters in the sport like to spit after saying his name because they recognize the game he's been playing with going forward in his career. It's not that he's not a good fighter, because he is. It's the path that he's chosen toward not being in fights that are more competitive. And there are plenty of competitive opposition out there for him. So along with that, and Mr. Charlo's comments that had his name in Charlo's mouth, well, now you saw that the man came in. What did he weigh in at, Reggie? It was something like 167 point something. So he made certain that he got down beneath that weight, right, to come in. That's called discipline, okay? And if you add discipline and motivation behind this man's name, you're going to have someone to really, really deal with out there, okay? And he can learn from this. It's not over for him. He's not of that ilk of where you know, push him to the side and say, hey, you know, well, he's questionable, because he's not. He's a young man. He will make mistakes. He may make more. And so have we all. But the thing about it is to try to get on that horse and ride in a different direction that is going to take you on a positive path. That's what we need to see. And I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge a second super chat by my man Taylor Bell. Appreciate you, bro. And I've modded Taylor Bell up. So Taylor Bell, you are there for moderation. And we got 88 Sports Talk out there in that super chat as well. He says, Jamal, too athletic and skilled for Benavidez. So just know that when someone can get out there, like I said, behind discipline and motivation, and is talented as well, you know, there's really no ceiling but the one that you make for yourself. So that's something to be considered. Now, the fact that Mr. Ellis found himself in the ring with Benavidez is quite interesting, because Mr. Ellis, for those of you all who wouldn't know, has been in the Canelo camp for quite a while now. Okay? He's been working with Mr. Canelo on the aspects of how to become a fighter who can emulate the style of the so-called black fighter. You know, have a little rhythm to what you're doing, a little agility and mobility and stuff like that. He's been working behind the scenes. Some people may know that, some people may not. But to understand what that means is that Canelo is trying to do things that openly he would not admit he has shortcomings about. But we can see it when we see him perform. But when you have someone who has taken on a job like that, you have to question who that person is, huh? Because isn't this a dog-eat-dog world? Some people call it a fraternity, but the business of boxing, you may have to fight your friend, huh? So you don't reveal all your secrets. Matter of fact, you might give him something that may not be beneficial to him, because you may have to face him one day. But what Canelo managed to do is send Mr. Ellis out there as a Scud missile and a scout, because Benavidez is right there, baby. That belt he's holding on to happens to belong to Mr. Benavidez. He didn't lose it in the ring. He lost it on the scale. So ironically, just a few weeks ago when Canelo was fighting for that vacated belt against that dude, Eardrum. Yeah, that's what I call him, Eardrum. Because he couldn't hear us when we were saying, throw some punches. Huh? So maybe his eardrum was busted. But he's also been busted as far as his career, because he came in there with no hands. He was an armless fighter against Canelo Alvarez, who also used him as a sparring partner. But on that same night, a man that Benavidez defeated for the title that they had stripped from him, Anthony Durrell, fought the same night. Matter of fact, Canelo was nice enough to allow Darrell's match to finish, which went the distance against Kieran Davis, when he and Kieran was fighting in a eliminator bout for the same belt that Canelo was fighting for that night. And I questioned just a few weeks ago when we did our post-fight show then, why in the hell was Canelo fighting Eardrum and not Anthony Darrell? Because Darrell's fighting for the eliminator of a belt that he lost to Benavidez that was stripped and made vacated so Canelo can fight for it. But Canelo had no interest in fighting for it when Mr. Benavidez had possession of it. You see the game that they play with us? You see the scam that they try to run on the public? So you think about it. All of this is fallacy. It's BS. And Canelo didn't want to face that man that you saw tonight, but he sent his spy, his scout, out there. Let me see how the brother who's showing me how to fight like a brother does against Benavidez, because that'll be a great test, a measuring stick for me to see how he performs. And I can kind of gauge whether or not I might really actually want to get in there with Benavidez, or will I continue to play this farce of a game of ducking? That's it in its nutshell, people. Think about it. And what happened to Mr. Ellis, who's shown Canelo the secret art of fighting like a black guy? He got his ass whooped. And when Reggie was saying, oh, they should stop this, they should throw the towel in, I was like, no, to the death. I don't mean literally death like I wanted him dead, but I do mean let it run its course to its end, because he's a damn fool. Eddie SHO proved to be a fool to continue to get off that stool and take the ass whooping that he took tonight, right? So good. Now, how do you think Mr. Alvarez is going to respond now? Mr. Benavidez is there, and he's coming. And he showed you tonight, on this night, that he can get in shape. So you, depending upon him, making the weight and beating the scales and all of that, Canelo, you're not going to be able to fool him with all of these different types of attachments that you put on your contracts, rehydration clauses, all of that kind of stuff. Because guess what? This is a young man. He's 24 years old. How old is Canelo? Think about it. See, and for you, he'll do what he got to do to get you in that ring, because you, my man, can't get out the way like Ellis was trying to do. You got a bum knee, Mr. Canelo. Does that mean you're an old man already? Are you going to come in there with a cane? Because Benavidez going to be there. You ain't going to be able to back him up, like that man who was supposed to have a jab. No jab. Set a record for jabbing in one fight and throw hardly none in the next with you. Benavidez is going to be there. He going to cut the ring off. He going to keep coming. Yeah, you might hit him with some shots, but he could take it. And guess what? He's as fresh as a daisy, because he stops most of his opponents. So you got 12 rounds to work with. Let's see how you do. But also, what's interesting, let's see where you go. Because the way you've been moving, the walls are closing in, my friend. Salute to my man Taylor Bell again in that super chat. He says, thank you for the wrench, sir. I feel like I graduated from kindergarten to first grade. I got a long way to go, but I'll be here for every class, Stormy. And you're welcome in this class, and you're welcome for that, because you have shown some support and love like a lot of people refuse to do. They'll come here. They'll ear slut. They'll peep through the blinds and the bushes, as I spoke about many a time. But they won't come on in here and say, hey, man, We like what you're doing. We support you. Here's a little love for your pocket. Huh? But that's okay, because I'm going to do this regardless. Reggie, you got anything to say about what I had to offer on Mr. Ellis and Canelo using him as a scout, trying to get a feel for what Mr. Benavidez might have to offer?
No, Canelo and them scandalous for doing that to the dude, but it ain't gonna pan out, man. Canelo got to hurry up and just get in this ring against this Benavidez kid. And I think with what Benavidez brings, the speed, maybe a little bit too much for Canelo. Canelo won't be able to keep this kid up off of him. Benavidez will be sharp enough to stay out the way of Canelo. And if Canelo wants to fight on the inside, can Canelo deal with the speed? And also, again, Canelo's on a bad wheel. I think he got 2 bad wheels, and Benavidez is there to bring that pressure. He can maintain Canelo. And the other thing that people leave out is Canelo has issues with fighters that can jab. And I think the jab will be one of the things that keeps Canelo out. I think if Benavidez goes in here, it can be a dominant performance by Benavidez with his height, range, and hand speed and power. It will cause Canelo to really sit back on some of these punches. Canelo doesn't have the foot speed or the athletic ability to close the distance like that, as his legs are going bad. He's a guy who can roll and shift out the way of punches, find his way on the inside from fighters that are not as active. Benavidez is a very active hand puncher. So it's something that we need to see. I want to see it, but this scout mission they send Ellis on, didn't work right, and it didn't work good at all. And I hopefully Ellis was compensated by Team Canelo going here and fell on their mission to find out what they were looking for. And every fighter out there, hey, it wasn't whatever y'all thought y'all was looking for to see if this guy lost something. Hey, it didn't look good at all. And for people who said that he gets hit a lot, he showed good ability on defense, showed the ability to cover up, to not get hit with anything too mean. And when he took a punch, he showed that, hey, you ain't got nothing for me. And that's demoralizing for a fighter like that. And that caused Ellis to back up a lot. And Ellis trying to wing off with punches, trying to throw all his weight in the punches to keep the guy up off him. He would not back up. And Ellis started to kind of really go into retreat mode on that bicycle. He put a motor on that bike, tried to get up out of there and couldn't. But this dude is a serious threat. And regardless, he wants to fight everybody. Make the fight happen. That's what has to happen in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me say this. As a matter of fact, Canelo has his belt, so he got to fight him.
Yeah, absolutely. But something tells me he's going to wiggle his way out of this situation. It won't be the first time, but just know that when you see the fight not happen, think about the discussion that we've had here this evening. Because I'll tell you, there's plenty of guys out there who deserve a title shot and deserve to try to make as much as they can doing what they do for a living. But I'll tell you, man, it's really revealing when you have champions that don't want to get out there, or championship caliber fighters who don't want to get out there and step outside of that cocoon of being in setup fights, setup showcase fights, where you could always look your best and never have to answer a test. Get the hell out of here. Life is full of tests, okay? And you could tell the people who don't do well by the way they avoid the times to step up. Stepping up is important in life. You have to step up for opportunities. You have to step up to show who you are. You have to step up to answer a call. And when you see so many fighters in the sport today, the world just got a great deal smaller when we lost someone like Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Just think about it. Could you imagine Marvelous Marvin Hagler stepping away from the opportunity to continue to be great, meaning like not fighting Tommy Hearns, not fighting Vito Antuofermo twice, not fighting Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard and Benny Briscoe and all the other people that he faced during his career. You know, John the Beast Mugabe, who was knocking out everybody. His full record of fights was like, what, 25-0 with 25 knockouts when he got in there with Marvelous. And that fight took something out of Marvin, but he still faced the man. He still went out there and went into it. Can you imagine someone bouncing around the divisions, acquiring belts, beating opponents that you could hardly, respect for menial titles, and then trying to label themselves as great and not faced the best of those divisions where he treaded and he vacated and avoided when, the opportunity was there? Could you imagine that? I mean, just think about it. That's what you see this man doing that I mentioned earlier. And I'm not going to continue to mention his name because he doesn't deserve that. But tonight was Mr. Benavidez showcase night. And I think it was a message being sent to the divisions just below and just above. He's here. And he's here to do some damage. And a lot of people who like other fighters are going to get their feelings hurt as long as this man stays, what? Motivated, disciplined, and ready to do his job as a professional. That's what I got to say about that. So, but yeah, that was very interesting, Reggie, that Mr. Ellis took such a brutal beating. Do you think he tried to do that for Canelo?
To not go down,
yeah.
I think it was something with pride for Ellis. I think Ellis was a dude who, I'm not sure if he was an undefeated fighter, but I think he's a dude who didn't want to have to give up in a fight like that. I think he's one of these dudes who wanted to give his all. If he wasn't out, he's one of these guys that will push through it. And I think that's what it was. And all it did was make the fight worse by him trying to continue on, trying to fight through when he didn't have anything to give. And like I was stating, it's going to take something away from Ellis. And not to exaggerate, like that was a brutalizing beatdown. And especially at being at 31, going this later into the fights, and this guy's just pounding on. It wasn't even just like these just landed shots. These are shots that he put statements behind these shots. And the statements behind this shot was he's using Ellis as a canvas to let everyone out there know where he was. And those who thinking the weight issues is some type of issue, for him to prove people wrong from that aspect and coming under the 168 limit by half a pound, and even showing he was on weight a few days before the weigh-ins. I think he was on weight on like a Tuesday, and he displayed that. And now he's showing if he's dedicated to the sport outside the ring, because that's where everything happens, he just comes in here more magnificent in the ring and he becomes that much greater of a threat. And he's looking to hurt everybody because I think he's fed up with what he sees in the sport, just like the rest of us. And it's a breath of fresh air to see a fighter who thinks with that mindset. He ain't caring about winning or losing. He just want to fight you. And I like that in Benavidez. And I support fighters like that. Like I said, I ain't a fan of no fight. I'm a fan of boxing.
Absolutely, man. I want to take a moment to salute my man Sheldon Holmes out there with that Cash App donation. He says, "For I'm glad Chocolatito lost. The commentary was disgusting." Now, Sheldon, you're going to have to explain that about the commentary. Are you saying what you listen to on TV, or are you trying to say my man Reggie Owens' commentary was disgusting? Because the fight was a great fight. It was very close, and it is really difficult to see one clear victor there. It could have gone either way. I actually had Chocolatito winning myself on my cards, but that one judge who had it by a wide margin, we'll get into that. But let us finish up with this. And salute to my man Big Dog Willie out there in that super chat. He says, "R.I.P. to the marvelous one And salute also to highly anticipated out there with the that's the what do you call it, the super emoji out there. Appreciate your donation, brother. Appreciate that. Highly anticipated. But yeah, Reggie, the fact that cornermen will allow it to be, you know, a beatdown like it was, and like I said, I haven't watched it yet, you know what I mean? So I relish seeing the guy taking this punishment as soon as I can when we get out of this. But let's just say, for safety's sake and whatnot, you really have to question some of these men. And I tell you that all the time, and I say you, I'm saying per se, when I discuss the sport of boxing, I'm always being very critical of cornermen and trainers, because some of them aren't, you know, versed enough to be cornermen and trainers, but they're there, hired hands that don't know how to be hands-on. And it's ridiculous when you're going to one day see a tragedy happen that's going to be in the laps of someone who could be in control of a more safer situation. And Reggie talks about that as well. So when you see these things happening, even if it's your fighter who's being successful, on the successful end of things, always think about it in terms of if it's someone you care about and you see these things taking place and no one is there to be disciplined enough to say, hey, enough is enough. I mean, I've actually seen referees watch men get beat down and don't stop a match. And then you see somebody who's a so-called favorite dude and they step in and give someone a chance, or they wave it off or whatever. You know, it's like, what's going on here? There's too much imbalance. So while you guys are hyping up your favorite dude, okay, and you're giving all that support and love to your favorite dude, and we're from this town and we're from this state and all of that foolishness, start supporting the safety and well-being for some of these guys. The fact that they don't have oxygen ringside, an ambulance right outside the door with a stretcher just up the corridor to put this guy on. Why does a guy have to, that's damn near had his brains oozing out his ears, gotta walk to the stretcher up to the dressing room to lay down, and they don't bring it to the ring so they carry him downstairs and lay him on it? But you want to talk about your region and your state and where you from and all of that. You might as well be from the damn gutter. Because what you watching is someone who has a life outside of the sport and who has loved ones, okay, put their life on the line for your entertainment, but you don't even know how to focus on what's really important. Sorry about that, Reg. I just had to say that, man. Get some.
Are you good?
Huh?
No, I said that was good.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on and get down to the nitty and gritty. That was the fight card for what I like to consider the main event of this evening, and what I had spoke about. And I have to say that on my fight call this go round, I ended up being correct by default, because in my pre-fight video, I did say that I thought that Mr. Estrada would prevail in his rematch against Chocolatito. These two gentlemen fought 8 years ago, Reggie, and that was when HBO were fully behind Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez as the pound for pound guy, okay? And they had him above everybody. You know, he was just this little man out of Nicaragua who they really were sold on, and they were trying to tell us he was this and that and the other. And at that time, when he had his defense against Estrada was coming up. You know, he was that guy who was being groomed to be a champion and challenge and contest for it. But in that fight, Roman won a close decision, and he was able to turn back that challenge. And he was also a younger fighter and a fresher fighter. I also remarked in my pre-fight video that he's 33 years old now. And in those lower weight classes, that's the equivalent of being 40, sometimes 40 plus, because those guys have to cut weight and they take punishment. And when you talk about Chocolatito, he takes even more punishment for the style he fights in. So he is really, literally the old man in this fight tonight, which is why I was going with Estrada, because after seeing the punishment that he sustained in the two brutal fights that he had against STORMYBMAN, Chocolatito looked like a man who was worn out. And he even admitted himself, if you go on the DAZN channel and you listen to those pre-fight, interviews and stuff that he was giving, he really considered retiring, because in the first fight against STORMYBMAN, he lost a majority decision in a grueling match that saw these two men pounding on each other. But SOR is kind of a strong man at that division and a bigger guy with a bigger punch. And he pounded on Chocolatito. And in the second fight, he stopped him in 4 rounds. So that looked really shady. Not shady, but shifty for Roman, But I have to say, his performance tonight, Reggie, my goodness, he really fought well tonight. And his last fight against Israel Gonzalez, he did not look that good. He kind of looked like a aging fighter. But tonight, he fought a lot better. And his performance was superb. And rarely do you see a guy in the final round of a championship fight, in the championship rounds, do the things he's supposed to do to try to get that, win that over on the judges. And somehow the judges still screw it up. So with that, I've set it up for you, Reggie. You can come on in and say your piece on what you were thinking.
Yeah, man. To me, it was a very competitive fight, real competitive fight, going back and forth. Estrada doing good work, landing his punches, moving around, constantly moving around. Thought he was going to use his legs to try to keep the older fighter from being able to keep up with him. Stick and move is kind of the early plan that I seen from Estrada, and it seemed to be pretty effective because Chocolatito let his hands go at a certain point in the fight. But then when he started to let his punches off, he started to connect well, and Estrada started to react to these punches, kind of giving Chocolatito the signal, hey, you got something going here. And he began to land very well, and the momentum would shift back and forth. But there's a moment in this fight to where I began to see Estrada start to fade. And Chocolatito, I think, started to take like 3 rounds at that moment where Estrada started to have this point of failure where it looked like he gassed a little bit. He couldn't find that second win. Kind of towards the later stages of the fight, about, what was that? I think I wrote on my card from rounds 8 to 10. I had Chocolatito taking over those rounds. As early in the fight, it would go back and forth between the two. And with Chocolatito kind of taking over those later rounds, and as they got into the final 2 championship rounds, Estrada ends up taking 11. Estrada came on strong in round number 11. And he started to catch Chocolatito. And then in that final round, as I have it to where I had Chocolatito up 1 round at that point in the fight, and Estrada needing to pull out that final round to bring it to a draw. That's how close of a fight. I just see he didn't do enough in that final round. There's clearly a Chocolatito round. And on my card, I had Chocolatito up 2 rounds to the 5. Or what is that how it? No, 7 rounds to 5 is how I have it. Is that, yeah, 7 rounds to 5 is how I end up determining that fight in Chocolatito's favor. Being Chocolatito is just being able to come on in those moments, slow Estrada down, and land more of the heavier shots. Even though Estrada landed a few shots, I think he hurt Chocolatito couple of times within the fight. Both fighters were hurt, but they recovered very fast. Small guys, they recover fast, especially if they're in shape. But ended up being a spectacular fight. But when you go to them scorecards, and before the scorecards was announced, I said that fight was going to be a close fight. It's going to either end in a draw a split draw, or a split decision. And it ended up turning that way. But when you have one judge who is very questionable in this fight, and his origins is very questionable, along to tie in with that scoring where he scores at 117, 111, that's questionable. That should be reviewable. He should be investigated. And his scorecard ought to hold that belt up a little bit as they go back to review this fight. I don't know what they can do, but I guess it's going to be final. But this is foul for a fighter to lose a fight to a judge like that, because these judges don't factor in. A lot of fans don't factor in what these fighters go through. It's not that they just get a call up, they get a date, they go to the ring, wake up out of bed. They're sacrificing, they're running miles, which a lot of us who may have been into maybe sports or been into life where you had to wake up and do, like me in the military and all that stuff, and did little sports and stuff. You wake up and having to do miles of running, ain't nothing hard about that. You rather just get up, play, and do whatever it is than to put in this work that's behind the scenes, which is the hardest part that's ever put in. Waking up doing miles. As a matter of fact, speaking about the great legend who passed away, it's hard waking up out of silk sheets. Who wants to do that and putting in this kind of sacrifices to go into the sport and go in here and get beaten in the head by another guy? And these judges don't consider that. They jack and corrupt the dang sport up. And this judge named Carlos Supra will come in here and score a brilliant fight like that. How do you take this away? Is this something to do with, and I wonder if the guy is from Mexico. Does it have something to do with national attachments that you will score a fight like that to favor your fighter? What rounds did you see Chocolatito being beat to where he clearly loses the fight like that? And then you don't give him anything. That was one of the most suspect things that happened in such a great fight. And it's unfortunate to look at his scorecard and to kind of give a portrayal that Estrada was just whooping on Chocolatito, and it's far from the truth. They went into a battle. They went to war together, and that card should have depicted that. But that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and to speak to something that you indicated there, Reggie, it's like the judge who scored that fight so wide for Chocolatito must not have saw the rounds that Chocolatito strung together. You know, there were a series of rounds where he won like 4 rounds in a row, or 3 at least. You know what I'm saying? So that judge was absolutely not giving him any credit whatsoever, because he did piece those rounds together. And another thing, and you said how they could go back and you don't know what they could do. They could tally all those right hands that he was hitting Estrada with. That right there alone, I would like to know the number. How many right hands did he hit Estrada with cleanly? It was a lot. And I wrote in your chat, I said, he keeps hitting Estrada with those right hands, something bad can happen. Didn't I write that in your chat, Reggie?
Yeah.
And even though he didn't get a knockdown or whatever, and I think what was happening was he was throwing the right hands quickly so that they would land. I don't think he was like trying to knock him out with the right hand, unless he was in close enough to throw the real hard ones. But what he realized early on was he could hit the guy cleanly. So he just kept hitting him. He kept hitting him. And when they got in closer, he was throwing harder shots, very good uppercuts. But it was a tactical thing. It was like, I remember Lennox Lewis talking about his fight with Shannon Briggs. And he talked about the right hands that he was able to land on Shannon. And he was like, if he can take a punch, great. Here, have some more. It wasn't so much about like, oh, you took that one, let me hit you harder and harder and harder. No, boxing is like this. It's like chipping away at a sculpture. You know, you don't just pull a clunk of sculpture clay down and think that you have a finished product. You got to shape, you got to mold. That's that right hand working a little bit. Just keep hitting them, keep hitting them. And eventually, boom, one to get in there, and you can either get the knockout, you can get the knockdown, or you can get the guy in bad shape. And if the guy happens to have a good beard, it's still a scoring shot. You just keep hitting them. You keep hitting them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Chocolatito did all night long. He hit that man so many right hands that if Estrada was hitting him as cleanly with right hands, he would have got Chocolatito. That's how it was. So what the hell was that judge looking at? You know, for a 117 to 111 score. That was like he didn't give the man hardly any credit for his work in there. And you cannot continue to have this type of scoring in professional boxing where these men, they give their all. And like I said, the 12th round, Reggie, Chocolatito won that round. That's the championship final round. It wasn't Estrada. I gave him the 11th. Okay. But Chocolatito came back and took that 12th from him. And it wasn't that Estrada gave it to him. He came out, but he was bested by Chocolatito in that final round. And you know that that judge that had that wide scorecard did not give him that round. And if he didn't give Chocolatito that round, he's totally, utterly corrupt. Because the man won that round, and I would love to see his scorecards. Let's pull that out, okay? Pull that scorecard out, and let's see if he scored that 12th round for Chocolatito. If he did not give that man that round, he was corrupt. Bottom line. What do you think about that?
No, that's what I was saying. They need to have him reviewed. They definitely need to have him reviewed.
No, but I'm saying for that 12th round, because that man won that round, Reggie. He needed it.
Oh, you mean that judge's scorecard and see who he gave it to?
Yes. Because I said, if you see on his scorecard that he gave Estrada the 12th, he's corrupt. Because Estrada didn't win that 12th round. He didn't. He didn't.
Yeah, no, not at all. And even in kind of those mid rounds, rounds 8 through 10, I want to see what he gave, because those are rounds where Estrada kind of had to take off in the rounds. And I guarantee he probably gave Estrada all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I had easily rounds 8, 9, and 10 for Chocolatito. I had 8, 9, and 10 for Chocolatito. And they were close rounds, but I still felt like he was more effective in there. And like I said, he could not miss tonight with his right hand. Man, I would love to see the number of, not power punches, because power punches can be mixed in with hard left hooks to the body and this and that. But I would like to see a stat of how many right hands he landed in that bout. Man, he was on tonight with that right hand. And Estrada couldn't get out the way of it. He could not. He was getting nailed every single time. If Chocolatito threw 10 right hands in a round, he got hit with 7 of them. You know what I'm saying? That's how effective Chocolatito was. And for anybody that's like, I'm wavering, think about it. Go back and watch my pre-fight video. I thought that Estrada was going to fight a more headsy fight, Reggie. Salute to my man, highly anticipated out there in the super chat. He says, I said the same thing. Chocolatito won that fight. And let's see, I thought I saw something else. No, that's it. When my pre-fight video, I was saying I thought that Estrada was going to box and be kind of using movement and get in and out with his shots, because Chocolatito is starting to look a little faded. And I was saying that I thought that he would fight this fight like Oscar Valdez fought his fight against Miguel Burchell. That's what I had a comparison to. And that was not true at all. He actually came out attacking Chocolatito until he started getting hit with those right hands. And then he started moving a little bit, circling and stuff like that. But early on, when they kept bumping heads and stuff, that's because he was trying to be assertive, but he was getting hit. So he was trying to move back out of the range a little bit to not get hit so cleanly. That was a slight adjustment he made, but it still lasted throughout the fight that he was getting nailed those right hands. And sometimes a follow-up left hook, which could lead to some bad things. And I'm telling you, it was a weird thing because he could not miss with his right hand tonight. I don't know if it's how he throws it, from the angle he throws it, or if he's just, if Estrada doesn't pick up that there's a right hand coming, or he can't see those shots. Because against somebody who could really punch, and they used to say that Roman could really punch, I think it was his pressure and his volume that wore guys down. They got a lot of the knockouts that he got. I don't think it was just clean power punching. It was a combination of things. Because a guy with a real punch, let's just say Sor Rumvisai, you're going to knock Estrada out if they fight again, if he can't get out the way of right hands. But maybe Rumvisai doesn't throw it with the same type of trajectory that Roman does, because it was quick. It was a quick release. Bam! He was landing it. I give him a lot of credit for it. And obviously that particular judge, 117 to 111, wasn't giving him credit for nothing. And I would have been happy with a majority decision draw or a split decision draw or something like that. But not that wide a margin. Even the judge who had it 115 to 113 for Estrada, that's an understandable scorecard because that's a close fight. But come on, man. Really? It just hurts the sport so much when they don't get it right. And it's a shame that a guy has to knock somebody out to get a clear-cut victory when they've worked their way toward victory. I'm sorry. I just don't like that at all. What else you got on it, Reg?
Nah, man. Hopefully something is done, man. Hopefully something gets done if they do recall this fight. But then again, he's going to hear with Rungvisai, and I want to see what Rungvisai can do against Estrada. I think he'll be avenging a loss to Estrada. Is that right?
Yeah, they fought, and I think they fought twice, and I think that they're 1-1.
Yeah, so now Rungvisai gets to step in here, and I think Rungvisai, it probably result different, man. Rungvisai is a dude who can crack, and I want to see what happens in that fight. Not to count Estrada out, but if nothing results, and we know how this whack game of boxing goes about the review of certain contests that are controversial, they don't do anything about it, and they won't even call up the judge because they view it as a shot at their integrity as a commission and things like that they tend to not go against their judges. They try not to ostracize the judge, and I think that's wrong for the sport. It's wrong for the fighters that dedicate themselves. But I think it's going to, I hope not, but it's going to stay as it stands, and he got a threat on his hands. Rungvisai is going to be a serious threat for him.
It's going to be a very good fight. I really look forward to seeing this one. I look forward to seeing it more than I would have looked forward to seeing Chocolatito facing Rungvisai, because I'm sorry, just like George Foreman and Joe Frazier, I think that he just has Chocolatito's number. And it would be inside the distance type victory for Rungvisai against Chocolatito. But hey, it'll always be tough between he and Estrada. It's just that, remember that I said this about Roman. It's like, he's 33. And not to sound like the old commercials about the dogs. They say, my dog is 3 years old. That's 15 years to you and me. That old TV commercial. But when you say that he's 33, that's actually a lot older in boxing years for men at those lighter weights like that, down there at flyweight and superfly. It's more like 40 plus in some instances, because they have to cut weight because of the punishment that they've taken over the years, particularly for Chocolatito, the type of pressure fighter he is, which means he's always coming forward. He takes punches sometimes cleanly, sometimes not. But your body you only have so much of that in you, before you start to break down. And I think that we're there with him right now. Because if Estrada had a bigger punch or something, you could kind of see, like when he was catching Roman, he was shaking him kind of a little bit. Not enough to make him wobble and all of that, but it was like stunning him, and he was like, willing himself through that. So, but it's going to be interesting seeing Juan Francisco Estrada in there again with Sora and Visay. That's going to be a good fight. And this was definitely, and we hadn't said this yet, Reggie, this is definitely a Fight of the Year candidate. How about these two guys, Reggie? They didn't spend any time on the ropes. They were pretty much either circling the ring inside the ropes, or they were right there in the center of the ring. When is the last time you've seen a fight like this, recent memory, and the guys weren't even clinching, Reggie?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, man. That they didn't clinch at all, man. They just fought. I haven't seen one of them in a minute, but at least I had to think about it. But they came in here to fight, man. This wasn't MMA. This was boxing, and they came and they gave it.
Yeah, I was very much impressed by that. I mean, to see these guys put in the type of work that they were putting in, and there were hardly any clinches at all. I don't remember any clinches. I think that they worked themselves out of being in close and stuff. The ref didn't have to do anything, but early on he was reminding them to watch their heads because they bumped heads a few times, and he jumped in to separate them when the bell was ringing to end rounds. But they worked themselves through this fight tonight. I would like to see punch stats for how many fights there were, how many punches thrown and whatnot, because they were busy. There wasn't a lot of lull in tonight's fight, and it was very entertaining, highly engaging. Man, I really enjoyed the fight. These guys, hats off to them. They both proved themselves warriors out there tonight. Very amazing to see what they were doing. Very amazing. You got something else on it, Reg?
No, that was my only thoughts on that one.
Yeah. So let's go to the fight between the ladies, man. What were your thoughts about Jessica McCaskill and Cecilia Brækhus?
Man, Brækhus Brækhus ain't. Hey, the road has come to an end for Brækhus, and McCaskill is determined to hold on to that belt. She went at the Brækhus. Brækhus looking aged a little bit. She didn't seem the same. She looked like a close to 40-year-old fighter, and can't take nothing away from her accomplishments within the sport of boxing. She's achieved a lot, but I just think at this time, the sun has set on her career, and McCaskill came in here to bring it to her. She was tagging Brækhus, and I think she hurt Brækhus quite a few times in this fight.
Oh, yeah.
Had there been more time in these women fights, she would have got Brækhus up out of there. And as the fight drew on, Brækhus looked defeated. Seeing her sitting in that corner, she had the look on her face that there was nothing she can do, and she just had to pay honor to McCaskill being the better woman. And maybe if she caught her early in her career, maybe she could have kept McCaskill off of. But McCaskill has a determination that's going to keep that belt locked around her waist for a long time, and you're going to have to put in a lot of work to be able to take it from her. Who knows if Carissa Shields can go down there, but I don't like to see a heavier fighter constantly trying to move down to fight someone down in these weights. So, but who else is up there for McCaskill to fight? If she's looking for a big fight, maybe she may have to get Carissa down there to losing weight to fight her. Maybe so, maybe not. But where
is Katie Taylor at weight wise?
Is she at 40 something? That's what I think. I think she might be in the 40s or something.
But isn't that where McCaskill is?
Yep. And they may get it on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And she's on DAZN already, so hey, you know what I mean? Let's see that. Cause I'm gonna tell you something. There's a punch she needs to learn to throw in her arsenal that would have helped her tonight against Breakers. The way to describe it is, it's a left hook, but it's the type of left hook that you slip to your left and you bring it up like that 45. If she had that punch in her arsenal, she would have knocked Breakers out tonight. Because Breakers was moving to her left and to Breakers' right, and she was fighting out of that, you know, the cross arm defensive posture. And so when she would throw her left hook, she was slapping with it like this, but picking that arm up and being able to wait for Breakers to throw a shot so she could slip to the outside and bring that shot under, because she was landing those right hands, but she needed to be able to shift her weight on her feet and bring the punches from a different angle. If she learns that, she'll get some knockouts, because she was punching hard, bro. She was punching hard, and Breakers was trying to be a trooper, you know. And hats off to Cecilia Breakers, because she got hit with some shots, man, and you could kind of see a little bit of resignation on her face, but she toughed it out. So she's a true warrior, you know, as a woman's fighter. She's a true warrior, and she went in there and she toughed it out. But what the hell is up with her with those shaved eyebrows and painted on eyebrows, Reggie? I'm afraid of that. That kind of scared me a little bit. Made me think about Halloween, man. I don't know what's wrong with that girl. Why she shave her eyebrows off and then have it look almost like it's tattooed on there or something, because that wasn't real hair above her eyes.
No, that's what some of the women who all into their beauty look, they really permanently tattoo them eyebrows in.
Oh man, that's horrible, bro. That's horrible. You know, if it's fake like that, I wonder what else is fake. You know, it's just, I don't know. She might have a schlong or something. I don't know, man. I have to, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, McCaskill, that's my girl. She from the Shy. You know what I'm saying? And she's out there peeling caps. So let's get Katie Taylor in there next. Now, I know that they really, really love Katie Taylor over there. Huh? But it's time for Katie to jump into deeper waters. Huh? Against somebody who gonna fight her. Because, you know, she had a couple of close fights that she may not have really earned a victory. They gave her a victory, but that big old girl, she was fighting them past couple of times that was putting it on her. Not this last fight she had, but the 2 fights with that lady that she had before her last fight. You know, that woman give Katie Taylor a beating, I thought. You remember who I'm talking about?
Nah.
Yeah, she fought some big Swedish woman or something. And they had
Pursue.
Yeah, there you go. They fought twice. And both fights, you know, was like, and I think we did a post fight where we talked about it, and you was like, man, that woman whooped Katie Taylor. So
yeah, I thought Katie lost both of those fights, but the woman accepted the defeat.
Right. And that's what you had said after the second one. So, but yeah, we had seen them, you know, and but this kid McCaskill, man, she's all right with me, bro. If you gonna fight, right? And that's what she does. She ain't out there trying to bounce around and look pretty. No, she's like, whoom. She's throwing right hands. She had a little mouse under her eye, too. She was like, in the camera, hi, Mom. She said when she had a victory. And I thought she looked so cute when they was putting all her hardware on. She had like 5 belts or something, and they was putting them on her, and she was so little, you know, because she's a lot smaller than Breakers. Yeah. So yeah, I want to watch her again, man. She performed, and I said that when you were going live on the show. I was like, I think that McCaskill gonna go for a stoppage tonight because she wants to, leave no doubt, and she was going for it. So, and just salute to them for not giving Breakers a nod or making it a draw or something like that, because, out of what she's accomplished in her past and stuff like that, because that's another way these judges come out sometimes and make things difficult for the fighters. So the fact that she got her victory solidly, I got appreciation for that.
Yeah, most definite, man. But I want to see where they go with her as far as her next fight, and seeing what other names they can build up for. But I like the fight that they fight as co-main events to such a popular fight with male fighters. I think sometimes women fighters have to take kind of the co-main event position in fights rather than trying to lead the event until women's boxing begins to mature and grow. And they held their own on a male card, on a male dominated card, and these women held their grounds. And hopefully there's a lot of eyes that tracked over to watch this fight, and they got to see some names from the female side that they can follow.
Yeah. Now let's get to another one of those fights on the card there, Reggie. That middleweight fight that took place between Austin Williams and Dennis Douglin. That was something that was kind of interesting. The whole narrative of the fight, the way the fight was fought, Mr. Douglin coming in there with, mama's boy and all of that foolishness. It's like, I don't know, man. And Austin Williams, they call him Ammo, but you know what? He looked like he need to reload the cartridges as far as I'm concerned. And my goodness, if he keep that chin up in the air a la Ryan Garcia, somebody gonna explode some ammo on his chin. So what were your thoughts about this fight, Reggie?
Yeah, I thought it was a good competitive fight, man. Ammo had his moments. Douglin had his moments as well. But Ammo, wait, how old is he? Man, I'm trying to talk about maybe his man straight got to develop, but I think Ammo started late, so he got to be towards his upper 20s. So I think the power is where it's at. And the power doesn't seem too significant. The speed is there, but I think he has to work better on his setups. You see the hand speed, the athletic ability, but there's going to take more because he's going to come in here against fighters who may be a little bit more rugged than what he got from Douglin, who's more durable than Douglin and more offensive. And him going in here against a more offensive fighter, he's going to end up paying for it. He's going to have to work on some things. He leaves his chin up in the air like Ryan Garcia. That's something for someone to hit. He was getting tagged quite a bit here from Douglin. But the one thing he did find is he started to fade. And what Douglin didn't see is the moments in which Ammo allowed space in between the two fighters to explode off of him in those moments and catch him in these kind of explosive, throwing the right hooks. He exploded on Douglin twice, where he hit him in that one round where explodes, catches Douglin with the right hook. Douglin wobbles a little bit, recovers. He immediately throws that same punch, finds the timing, explode, lunge forward with all his weight and forward momentum, throwing that right hand, catching him right up on the chin. Right on the chin, these punches were, where they should knock someone out, landing a punch that flush with that kind of velocity and impact on it. It wobbled Douglin. Douglin falling all the way back, leaning against the ropes and tying up. And he's even also swinging back, because even when he fell against his ropes, you begin to see Ammo, jump right up in there, let those hands go. A lot of speedy combinations. But in the moment where he had to do hurt, not one of the punches that followed after Douglin being hurt Douglin. Douglin was able to recover. Then he had that other moment where he caught him with the uppercut in the seventh round, where he times another uppercut, lunges forward, catches Douglin right on the chin. Douglin falls all the way back against the ropes. He was falling backwards for a long, long time. Sound like Eddie Murphy's auntie falling down the stairs. He just wobbling back, and he goes to work. he get to going to work, mixing up these quick-handed punches that had no impact. They didn't do anything but allow Douglas to recover. What he should have did is took his time, been patient, finding his shots to find the proper shots to try to get him up out of there. But he went in there to try to maul the guy, and all his mauling did was allow Douglas to recover. Douglas immediately able to grab him and slowly recover. He was hurt very bad too through that round. He able to survive about a minute in that round after being hurt that bad, and even also throwing punches to keep Ammo up out of there. Ammo displays when he's tired on his face. He displays when he gets hit with a punch and it bothers him. But he has some things to work up, but he's good with his inside body work. He's very good on the inside. Remind me of Earl Spence, but to watch him fade like that, a fighter can drown him. And being he's in good cardio condition, I think he exerts a little bit too much. That takes away a lot from him. And that's why he went into showing signs of fatigue. And he's probably going to have to work on that, but also working on that defense. That's my thoughts on that one. But I had the fight as a draw. He ends up pulling out the victory in that one.
Yeah, and there was, this thing he does, like when he landed those good shots, as you said, he'd rush in to like do this shoe shine, where he smothered himself. He didn't pick his shots. That's a great deal of inexperience, very amateurish. And none of those shots had effectiveness, which allowed for the hurt Douglas to get back into things. They have to really go back and study the tape and take him back from doing that. If he gets a guy hurt, he needs to be more calculating with follow-up shots. Don't rush in there to get a guy because, one, the principle in boxing is this: a hurt guy is a dangerous guy. You go rushing in there to try to finish him off, and you could get run into something, especially if it's an experienced fighter, which Douglas was more experienced than he. So, two, when you are going after someone that's hurt, one of the things you want to do is make the assessment of how the guy defends himself. A lot of fighters, when they get hurt, Reggie, believe it or not, they don't protect their head. That's why it's so inviting to go right back with a follow-up shot to the chin. But one of the best punches to throw at a guy once you've hurt him is a body shot. But it's the placement of the body shots. If you could stick something just beyond that elbow, or just up underneath to the breadbasket or the pit of the stomach, that makes a lot of things take place negatively for the guy who's hurt. Also, to understand the punching chart. When you go down low on one side, bring it up high on the other side, and vice versa. The reason being is because a guy can't cover and block everything at one time. But when you just rush in and you're just trying to get stuff off, you give a guy a chance to go into a shell, and he could try to buy time in that way, or wait till you get in a certain distance, reach out and grab you to tie you up and things of that nature. So, both guys did some things that they both need to go back to the drawing board and look at their tape. And I heard Dennis Douglas' mom asking him, why are you bending down like this and whatever? And when he was snapping his jab, he was looking great. And there were moments where he was just abandoning using a jab. But man, when you throw that jab, Reggie, you can set so many things up. It's so easy because guys are lazy nowadays. There's not a lot of jabbing that goes on in boxing matches. It really isn't. Guys want to lead with hooks. They want to keep their hands low and stuff like that. And I always talk about a guy with his hands low. He's making a bridge between his chin and your fist, because the distance that it needs to travel, it's like a open highway. It's just like people who get on a motorcycle and don't wear their helmet. I talk about it all the time. I say, it must don't have nothing to protect. So he's not wearing a helmet. He don't have nothing to protect. So if he busts his head open on the concrete, don't dial 911 for him, because he wanted to go out like that. So, but yeah, did you want to talk about Camden Ford in his fight, Reggie, against that Aaron Perez?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. What were your thoughts with that one? Because I really felt like, wow, you know, Camden was doing some good things and then he stopped, and then it was like, oh, and he let that guy back in that fight to get a draw out of that, man.
Yeah, man. He and it was funny because before the fight started, everything that what's the boxer name on there? What's the boxer on part of the team they be disrespecting? What's his name?
The boxer what?
The boxer who on that telecast with them. The one that Chris Maddox and them always trying to say little sly stuff to. I think Moore's whatever his name. He's part of that. I think is that Sergio Moore?
Yeah, that's Moore.
Yeah. So he was stating this early before this fight started, as he was walking out and they trying to make these little goofy comments, which I did hear to make them goofy comments about what he had on and what is he wearing and they making the Deontay Wilder suit reference they were trying to make, thinking they cracking jokes. And when he came out there, he was speaking about Raymond Ford being a sparring partner for Teofimo. And what Teofimo was stating that he can go somewhere, but the kid has to learn to use his jab. And if he uses jab, he goes pretty far in the game. But if he doesn't, then that's where he faces problems. And you've seen that going in here. And Moore spoke on that with amateur fighters. A lot of these dazzling, flashing type amateur fighters, they have the hard conversion over into the pro side of boxing. A lot of them refuse to use a jab. They want to come in here, trying to dazzle, use hooks, shine on guys, step around. Now with him facing a pro fighter who comes in here very rugged, looking to come forward on him, he looked very, very uncomfortable. He spent a lot of times up off the ropes trying to get punches going. Even his team, his coach so much didn't want him staying on the ropes. He didn't establish his jab effectively. He just went over here trying to get into landing, pinpoint shots, trying to calculate one shot at a time. He found some good use of working to the body, but also Perez made a great adjustment when getting hit to the body and it hurt. He made the adjustment, but Ford did not make him pay after attacking the body. But Ford clearly showed he had a separation in speed, but if he could have figured out how to work off of keeping that guy up off of him, and that would have been through the use of a jab. And he didn't. He allowed that guy to walk right back in there, stay up in his chest, and put pressure on him. He was hitting Ford with some pretty good shots, clean shots. I was worried like, dang, man, hopefully Ford don't get caught with something at this stage in his career that knocks him out. But by the time he went to the scorecards, I knew it was going to come out something not too good for him. I thought maybe one judge may have seen it in favor of Perez. And matter of fact, I think a judge did see it in favor of Perez, matter of fact. And I thought it was going to turn out to where Perez would have got a split decision or it was going to definitely go into a draw. But it was all based on Ford not doing what he needed to do. And these fighters can't come in here just thinking everything's going to be guaranteed for him, even fighting these guys. And the thing is, he's looking at Perez as being a nobody out here, being somebody he's just going to come in here and walk through. And sometimes these dudes don't follow that script. And Perez came in here and gave him something he wasn't expecting. And it was pressure and coming forward, not being hurt. You couldn't keep the guy up off of him for too long. And Perez came in here determined. He was the undefeated fighter too. And that's what the outcome shook. But something him go to the drawing board, start taking heed to using that jab, being effective off that jab, and stepping up the pace on stuff. But that's my thoughts on that.
And I'll tell you, when just like my man highly anticipated says in the chat, he says, Ford, stop going to the body and stop jabbing. Yeah, absolutely. Stopping the jab first and foremost. You could, especially because Perez was trying to be aggressive. Make him run into your shots. You don't even have to chase after the guy. But also, you have to draw that line in the sand. I call it the Mason-Dixon line. You cross this, you get hit with something. And what he was supposed to do is bring the shots from around the sides to the body and up underneath. Uppercuts to the breadbasket and uppercuts to the pit of the stomach. And being a southpaw, that was a good punch for him after the jab to follow it with an uppercut to the belly. he wasn't doing those things. He did it for a couple of rounds, and he was getting the type of results that looked like Perez didn't like that too much. Of course he didn't, but it looked like he could be on his way to possibly building if not a knockdown, a stoppage. But he stopped. And that's the part that makes me say, like, what is going on with the corner, the trainers? You're right there. We're at home watching it on, TV and whatnot. So it's like, why aren't you telling him these things? It really speaks a lot about, like I said earlier in the show, some of these trainers and these chief cornermen, they aren't worth a pot to piss in, Reggie. They're really not. Because it's like, you what instructions do you give these? You got 8 rounds to work with. So basically, you need to win at least 6 of them. Huh? So it's like, what was he doing? And there was no jab. And not just with him, with a lot of the fighters today. They are not using the jab. So what the hell are they doing in the gym? I'll tell you what they're doing in the gym, Reggie. And it all comes back to this. In Floyd Mayweather's gym, they got that thing, what they call it, the doghouse, right? Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Where everybody get in there and they fight. Huh? And they bet on it and stuff like that. The gym is where you do your homework. It ain't where you fight. If you going in the gym to fight the people you spar and you're supposed to be learning with and from and things of that nature, you've left half of the fight there, right? Doesn't that make sense? And then when you get in a real battle, you might not bring as much to the battle that you could have because you were too busy fighting guys in the gym. Where does it come that you hone your craft? I'm from an era and time when they used to tell you, you go in there this round, I don't want you to throw no punches but the jab. You go in there this round, I don't want you to throw anything but a counter right hand. Not a lead right hand, a counter right hand. Don't throw no jabs, nothing. So you know what that means when you're given certain precise instructions like this in training, Reggie? That means you got to use your brain. Because you could get hit. The other guy is going to throw what he's going to throw. But if your coach has told you, I only want you to use the jab in this round. I only want you to throw counter right hands in this round. I only want you to throw left hooks in this round. I only want you to throw uppercuts in this round. That means that when you're not throwing that punch that you've been designated to throw, you've got to learn how to put yourself in position to throw the damn punch. That's a learning curve, Reg. So when these guys are doing what they're doing, you can see they haven't been taught. They haven't been instructed. They haven't been directed on what to do. And you're going to go out there and get your head handed to you by somebody who has been brought up to speed. You know why you do those type of drills, Reggie? Like I said, it builds the IQ in there. You'll learn what the counter is for everything. But also where it comes in handy, you remember the fight tonight between Kayaguchi and Vega? Remember Vega broke his hand or something, right?
Right.
You still got another hand. You still got another hand. You don't have to throw that hand that you broke no more if you worked on these drills on a regular basis and you know how to fight. Doesn't that make sense? Listen, man, I'm telling you, There's so much that is being missed. And these guys, you know, it's their lives, it's it's their health and well-being that's put on the line. But what the hell are these cornermen doing, bro? That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say about
They
it.
too busy trying to build up stars and sparring. And these fighters too much thinking they become stars by sparring and exposing guys. And like I said, they're not in there learning. They're too busy trying to outshine someone so they can come on. Yeah, I whooped on them. I'm a star. Put a camera in front of me. I'm the next best thing coming up. And they're losing sight of what they should be focused on. And a lot of them are sprinting to stardom, sprinting to want to be crowned as something special. And a lot of these dudes don't know how to pace themselves and won't slow down in the races. They want quick money. Everybody wants, on-demand satisfaction, and that's coming to becoming household names and obtaining the riches. And sometimes attaining money too fast becomes short-term, shortly lived. It's a very short-term goal, and some goals need to be extended and stretched out. But they spend too much time trying to look like stars and talking about, yeah, I bested this dude and I bested that dude. And then you come in here against a guy who you don't even look at. And this dude says, forget who you are. I'm coming to fight and I'm going to embarrass you. And that's what happens. And now he has a mark on his back. Now everybody who goes in here and fighting him is going to come to bring a fight. They look less about Raymond Ford. He kind of showed a chink in his armor. And that's kind of a bad thing based on the lack of preparation coming out of camp, coming in here.
And it's also a bad thing because they know how they thought that this fight should have been a winnable fight for him. That's why they picked it. Let's be honest. Now he's going to go in there against somebody even easier to beat than this guy instead of staying the course. Run it back with this guy and come back and beat his butt the proper way and then move forward. But no, you watch what I tell you. The next person that they put him in with, it's going to be somebody he get out in a couple of rounds or less, I'm telling you, that's how they think today. This was a teaching moment. But everything that I said just a moment ago never entered anybody's mind in that camp, I guarantee you. None of what I said. Because they're not seasoned. You could see it. It's like I'm listening to the directions and instructions from the corner, and it's not much. And then you look at the young man, what he was doing, which was very good. He stopped. We're not talking about a veteran fighter here. This is a prospect. Why aren't they riding him like a jockey and say, look here, bro, your jab is going to bring it home. Your body work is going to get him out of there. You have to build the blocks. You can't just treat it like, he knows. He's learning. But if you ain't have nothing to teach him, what the hell is he going to learn? He learned now that he go out there, he ain't going to necessarily win. So what does that do to confidence, Reggie? Think about it. You see? So, like I said, a lot of what transpires in these gyms, you can see the end result when they get in the ring. Man, it's, it's sad. It's sad. Because there could be so much more to transpire. And it's just not happening the way it needs to happen for some of these guys. Just not happening for him. Tone Brown is out there, says he underestimated him. I don't think he underestimated him. I just think that he didn't know how to build on what he was doing successfully. And remember, I've talked about this. This is why I have that show, the Tuesday Tussle. When you're giving your fighter instructions in the corner, you can't talk a mile a minute because the man has to focus on that guy over there that's trying to take his head off. You give him 3 things and you hope that he could do one of them. And the 3 things are supposed to be of a connection to one another so he can focus and at least try to implement it. You hear some of these trainers giving these guys all kinds of instructions and telling them do this, do that. Remember, and you got to do this. And what you doing, man? You got to get out there. You got to get on them. You got to do this. You got to do. What is that? Where's the real instruction? Huh? If you told him to go out there, get close to him, and bite the guy on this shoulder, he more likely can do that more than anything, right? Why? Because it was a single directive. So why can't you be that direct about something else that you need your fighter to do? And it doesn't start on fight night. It starts in the gym, where you get him to understand what your commands are. Because if he's not doing it in the gym, you can stop the round, start it over. And fighters hate that, Reggie, when the coach stops the round and starts it over. Huh? Because you could have been in there for 2.5 minutes, right? And he stopped the round. Now we got to start the round all over. That means it's 5 minutes. You understand? So it's like, there you go. But sooner or later, you're going to get on board with what he's trying to tell you, because you don't want to be in there sparring for 6 or 7 rounds. You understand? In one. You're going to get with it. You're going to be snapped up, ready to listen to what your directions are. Because remember, he's supposed to be working in your best interest. He's supposed to be a guru. He's supposed to be able to give you something, give you keys to be successful. If he's not doing that, what the hell are you doing with him? And why are you both wasting one another's time?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that's, I guess, is there something else you wanted to touch on, or you want to give some final thoughts? Or
no, that was it, man. Just really that Vega fight, that one ended, unfortunately. Didn't end the way that he wanted, because I want to see what that one would look like going towards the end. And being a championship fight, knowing he didn't want that fight to end, but it looks like he shattered something in his hand. Yeah. But that was a pretty good scrap. That was a real good scrap. And seeing, what's his name, Kamiyato, trying to go on the inside with the shorter fighter, having good success banging with him. I was worried about it because it looked like Vega was having good moments in there. He was having good moments. And just also working from the outside. He had great technique. That French fighter, that's who that guy is someone to watch out for. Can't pronounce his name. Trained by Virgil Hunter. Super. Yeah. That technique of the night was that guy right there. That guy is skilled right there.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good, man. Virgil Hunter might have him something going with that young kid. I like how he was patient against that Doughboy he was in there with this evening, because Doughboy was spirited, and that's always good, because you need a guy when you give him your best shot and you knock him down and he get up and keep fighting and stuff like that. It wasn't like he was going to lose the fight, but you need that. You need to face that, because it's like some guys kind of lose it when they realize they can't get a guy out of there. You know, or a guy who you knock down several times keep getting up and everything. Things like that. You know, guys who are tough enough to take you rounds, and, you know, things like that. That's all a part of the learning curve. And he handled himself very well. And his shots are very crisp. I like to see that sharpness in a fighter, don't you? It's like when you can see a guy, his punches have snap. They're sharp and crisp, and, you know, you can see he's thinking in there, and he's doing some smart moves. He give a guy a look, and the guy responds to that, and then he comes back with something else. It's like, man, I like that. And that's what he did this evening. So I'll be looking out for him as well, because he's a protege of the school of Virgil Hunter, and we'll get a chance to see, you know, what Virgil can do with some new, fresh talent. So I like that. So let's so I think that's pretty much it for us this evening. Reggie, why don't you go ahead and, you know, give everybody some final thoughts and remind them where they could find you, and don't forget to drop your link in that chat.
Oh, yes, indeed, man. You guys can find me over at Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens. Thanks for coming through for this post-fight review. And this is a pretty good night of boxing outside of a janky scorecard from a janky judge. Seen some great work out here. And that's all I got. Catch you guys. Matter of fact, we got a good week coming up next week. We got Saturday, got some good fights. Early morning fights and late evening fights. So we'll catch you guys on the next one, man. And I'll be doing a live clowning. So that's what I'm going to be doing in probably next 30 minutes, clowning. But that's all I got, folks.
Yeah, man. It's been a great evening of boxing for us. I know it's really late right now, but we do what we do. You know, we come in here and we have our own little way that we work things out. And we always try to bring a earnest show to our listeners, man. And it's always a pleasure working with you on these. And look forward to the next one, man. We're going to get on up out of here, let everybody go to bed and get themselves ready for a new day. But yeah, man, great show. And we look forward to, what is it? Who's on the horizon next? Who we got?
Let me go to ESPN real quick, because I know I seen it during the DAZN card.
Yeah.
They were showing that they got 2 events coming up. Matter of fact, it's Maurice Hooker, Ortiz, and the early one was Okoli versus Glowitz or something like that.
Yeah, those are those cruiserweights, right?
Yeah.
Or
and you talking about moving the heavyweight after this.
Cruiser. Yeah, and Ortiz and Booker, yeah, that Hooker, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's going to be interesting because we'll see if Hooker can stand up to that pressure that Ortiz is going to bring with him. But yeah, man, we look forward to that. So with that being said, man, we're going to get on up out of here and catch everybody on the next one. Don't forget to go over there. If you guys want to continue your party, go on over there to Reggie's channel. He's coming back with some more stuff, and he wants you to tune in. He left a link for you in the chat there, and you guys can go over there with him and get down whatever it's going to be going on. I'll hear about it later because I'm going to bed. But yeah, great show, Reggie. Have a good night, and peace to everybody out there. We're checking on out of here, so everybody have a good one. Peace.
Peace.